Hello traders and welcome. In today's video, we are going to take a look at trading equities on the Advanced Dashboard platform. We're going to break it in three parts. We're going to look at how you can set up your workspace first for efficient trading of equities. Then we're going to look at actually executing those trades. We're going to go through a number of different types of orders that you can place, from single leg orders all the way to those conditional or bracket orders like OCO, OTA, and FCO, and more to come on that. And then finally, we'll look at how you can then monitor and edit some of those orders that you put in, along with also setting up a portfolio for yourself if you want to track stocks across different accounts or trading avenues. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our build on our workspace here first to get the widgets that we need to get started with our trading. So what I'm going to do first is back up at the navigation pane. We're going to click on this addition sign, and that's going to open up our layout selector. Now, you can choose a number of these layouts. Now, keep in mind, we have presented a different video to go over the differences between each of these and how they would look. Today's lesson, I'm just going to be using the flex sheet over here. Now, when the flex sheet opens up, it does give me a choice of how many quadrants or the style of quadrants I want to use. I'm going to use the four layout look, and we're going to call this trading right over here. Now, once you've labeled it, we're going to go ahead and get it added on, and you'll see it pop up in this top navigation pane at the end. Now, keep in mind, you are able to maneuver this pane and drag it to whichever way you want on the screen. We're going to just leave it at the end of the row of the tabs that we have. So now, I'm going to go ahead and add my widgets that I want to have in this workspace. First off, I'm going to add in our order entry. That's going to be found under the trading category. I'm going to select that over here. Next, beside it, I'm going to go ahead and add in our watch list. I'm going to put that here. And then I'm going to load up this list. And then on the bottom left, we're going to go ahead and put in our market depth. Put that one in. And then finally, on this bottom right, we're going to put in our time and sales over here. Okay. The next thing I would want to do is I need to make all of these widgets in sync with each other. They need to be talking to each other so they can load up all the things that I need to call up from my watch list. So in order to do that, first off, I'm going to start with my watch list and this section up here where the channel configuration is. I'm going to set it to channel 1 and have the information be transmitted from my watch list. I'm going to do that 2 more times or 3 more times over to the other one. So we're going to match it up here, and we're going to set this to receive on our order entry, and on our market depth, we're going to set this one to receive over here. And then, of course, one more time, we're going to do that on our time and sales. Now, keep in mind, traders, that this is the setup that I've set up. This is if I'm trading or if I'm day trading or scalping. These are maybe some of the tools that I want to have available to me when I'm looking at the various stocks. You can set up a number of different other screens. You can set up a chart as well within one individual space if you wish to do so. So let's go ahead and first call up one of the tickers that we have in our watch list over here. I'm going to go down to our technology section over here, and we're going to pull up NVIDIA. So simply clicking NVIDIA, what it will do is it's going to load it up in these different widgets that we have all queued up. So in our order entry, it's already set up for us, in our market depth, and our time and sales as well. Now, before we actually place an order, I wanted to do some analysis on something with a price. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit about what the use case would be for using market depth. Now, let's go ahead and get this enlarged here for just a moment. Bring this up in full view. Now, market depth is one of those features where it displays just that, the market depth. It will show you all the prices essentially that are coming through on the order books beyond just the national best bid and offer, which we call the NBBO. Now, for most traders who don't have market depth, you'll be probably seeing just this price at the top, which is the NBBO, the bid and ask on a standard quote. But if you're a trader who wants to see, well, where are the other orders sitting? What sizes are they sitting at? Maybe it gives them a clue to where they're seeing a lot of volume being generated at certain price levels. Perhaps if a stock is illiquid, doesn't trade very much, they may want to see, well, what are the other prices that bidders are bidding out there, the sellers are putting out there? And this is what market depth tool shows us. Now, keep in mind, this is a data package that you do need to subscribe to when you're setting up the platform. Again, in our first video that we had created, we do go over that. So do make sure that you have that set up in order to be able to view this data. So what you can see essentially is if we look on this column on the left, this is the bid section over here. On the right is the ask section. So essentially, anytime you put in a limit order, And as long as it's in a board lot, and a board lot would represent at least 100 shares, you're going to show up on the market depth quote. And you can see these are all board lot orders that are appearing over here at the various limit prices that have been put into the system. You can see there's a sizable order sitting at this price level over here. So traders who are more into looking at order flow may want to see some patterns or trends where they're seeing big orders sitting at certain price levels that may give them indications of certain areas where there might be what we call support or might be resistance areas, just looking solely at this. So this is one of the things I would want to look at. Also keep in mind with a lot of US stocks, you have the ability to trade in pre and post market. And if you are going to be doing that, they're notorious for illiquidity. So you do want to make sure that you can also see some of the pricing if you do decide to trade in those after hours or pre hours. So let's go ahead and minimize this for a second, and let's open up our next tool that we have over here, which is the time and sales widget. Now, just as the name implies, time and sales, this tells us exactly all the trades that are taking place at the price levels and the sizing that it's happening at. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a static widget. It's not updating real time. So if you do need to update it, you just need to hit this little refresh icon, and that's going to load up the new data to show you the prices that are going through over here. So you can scroll through over here and just check through the various price indications that have been coming through, along with how they've been appearing there and the orders which they've been routed through. So this is another handy tool for traders to look at, especially if you wanted to just get a sense of where the prices are being hit on the bid or the ask, and give you a sense of the direction of the trend, where it might be headed. All right, let's go ahead and minimize this and let's get to our trading. So we called up NVIDIA, as you recall. Now we have our order entry tool. Now let's talk about the order entry tool, because I've purposefully set it up. However, I don't need to. It doesn't mean that this is the only spot I can trade from. In fact, I can trade from anywhere on the platform, wherever there's a price represented. But I've just displayed this, and we'll go ahead and enlarge this for just a moment, and you can see what the order entry tool looks like. So right over here, we have our account selector. You can see we have a number of different accounts that are configured over here. Now, keep in mind, you can set up an account default. In our case, we have the US margin account set up as our default. Those controls are going to be found within Web Broker. So you do have to make that control or selection within Web Broker, and that will translate over to Advanced Dashboard to become the default account whenever you pull up any ticker if you're looking to place a trade. Now, you can always go in the toggle menu and switch it to any other respective account that you'd want there. Also along here, and this is going to be found on the order entry, with the margin account specifically, it'll give you a view as to the cash balance currently in the account, along with the buying power in real time that you can use to trade with on the account. Now, if I were to switch onto another account, let's say we go to our cash account for a moment. In our cash account, you'll notice that the value is a little bit different. It just has the cash value. Well, for good reason, because there is nothing like buying power in a cash account. It's simply whatever cash you have, that is the amount that you are going to be spending. And in a similar vein, you'll see that both appear in like the registered accounts like TFSA, RSP, etc. It'll just have a singular value, which is just the cash value or cash balance. Now, if we go back and call up our margin account, and we'll queue that up one more time over here. The other thing you'll notice is we've got our ticker symbol already loaded up. It's already set to STK, and STK simply means we're looking to buy the stock. There are some other choices over here, which we've covered in a different series, but for now, our focus will be just simply putting a standard old stock order. So we have our actions buy and sell over here, we have our quantities, and we have our limit or price type selector over here. These are going to be pretty much the standard run-of-the-mill or price types that you've known and are accustomed to. So let's just say we want to do a limit order to execute this order. We can come into our limit price box and set up our price. So and keep in mind, you are going to see a live bid and ask displayed right over here. So if you're wondering where's the code, I don't see it. Well, it's going to be appearing right over here. So we're going to price it quite below the market just to demonstrate the trade itself. So we're pricing it for $500, and we're going to show, and next I have my duration selection. Now, chances are on this specific order, it's not going to be filled in a day. So I have to then choose the duration that I want. I can go beyond the day by choosing GTD, which allows me to choose a certain date. You can see there's a calendar that opens up here, and I get to select any date as far out as 180 days on the US market is what's allowed for an order to be active. Now, if you just want the maximum time frame rather than choosing a specific date, what you may want to do is just come out to GTC. Now, GTC will give you the maximum time frame an order is allowed to be on the market for, In the case of US stocks, that's going to be 180 calendar days. In the case of Canadian stocks, it's going to be 90 calendar days. Now, in addition to this, we also have another time frame that's available to us. Notice this right here, day plus extended hours. If you recall, I mentioned earlier that you are able to trade certain US securities that are traded on major exchanges in pre and post hours. So beyond as early as 8 a.m. Eastern time with us here at TD Direct Investing, and it goes right up until 7 p.m. Eastern time after the normal market session closes at 4 p.m. So if you choose this order, let's say for happenstance, it will give you the entire coverage of the range of both the post-market session and pre-market session, along with the normal session at the time of when you're placing the order. So in my example right now, I'm placing it through the midday in the trading day. So it's going to cover the regular session plus the post session right up until 7 p.m. Eastern time there. So it's very specific that you do need to select this order type. It is only going to be available as a day order, so it cannot be a GTC or a good till date. It's simply a day order if you want to participate in that extended hour session. Then once you've got that set up, you can go ahead and hit the preview button to get a preview of the screen. It'll give you a summary of the order value, the commission, and then any other related information that might be needed, such as buying power requirement in the case of this trade, since we're using a margin account. If you're happy with all of that, you can go ahead and send that order, or you still have a chance to edit it. We're going to go ahead and submit this order there. Now, one other thing you can do is to sort of make your trading efficient. We just went through the motions of placing a trade, but you want to configure some of these and automate it to a certain degree. So you are able to set your order defaults by clicking over to this gear icon up here. When it brings you up here, you will see that there's orders, and we're currently set up on stocks. So one of the things that you can do first and foremost is choose the duration. Do you typically trade day orders? Do you typically want to have them always set to GTC? Do you want them good till date? So you can pick this. Do you always want them day plus EXT, for example? So that can always default. You can also choose how the bid and ask behaves. So when you click on the bid or the ask, do you want it to be set up as a buy or a sell, or vice versa? So you can see on this case, the default would be that on the ask, it will be set up as a buy. On the case of if you click on the bid, it will be set up as a sell. So you can make that switch. Also, if you are looking to place, not just go long on positions, but if you're also looking to short, you can have the buttons to be able to short stocks. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to be selling short, you can only do that through a margin account, and you do need to have a short side to that margin account in order to be able to place short trades. Once you have that, of course, you have these other conditions you can say. So, for example, if we wanted to make our default quantity of orders at 100 shares, meaning I want to buy a board lot every time, you can also set up the increments at how with each plus or minus, what are the lots or sizes they go up in there, okay? Maybe I'm going to reduce this down to just 10 with 100 default. And then, of course, there is the profit and loss edits that we can make, and we'll discuss that in just a moment when we do place that type of order. So these are the conditions the defaults you can set up. Now, one other thing that we can also do is we can go up to where we see security. Now, amongst the security, of course, the one that I wanted to highlight was down over here where order security. You do have the ability to turn off certain sort of previews or confirmations if you wish. For example, if you wanted to skip the preview, you can either check that off or uncheck that off. So you can make those controls over here about preview, the confirmation, and also whether the order gets cleared after sending or it still gets displayed there. So make those changes, and those automatically save anything that you've done. Simply just make those selections and then click off of that page or just close it off, and those savings or those settings will be captured there for you. All right. So coming back to our trading, we just looked at placing a simple buy order. Let's get a bit more involved with the order now. So what I'm going to do, I'm still living on this order entry page. I'm going to just show us how we can do some of the bracket or conditional orders as they are sometimes called. So let's pull up NVIDIA again. Once again, we're going to load this up here. What I'm going to do is you'll notice when we did NVIDIA that there's a little symbol that pops up beside it now. And if you click on that symbol, this stands for being an open order. If I click on it, it tells me like, hey, you've got an open order to buy NVIDIA 100 shares at a price of 500. So it tells me we've got an existing order there. So you'll see these little labels in this regard where it says, oh, if I'll show you another one where it shows, if we load up Apple in our portfolio, you'll see it also a symbol that's H. And this, if you click on this, this simply tells us that this is a holding that's currently part of our portfolio there that we have, and it'll tell you exactly which ones you have there. All right, let's go back to NVIDIA for a second over here, and let's load this up again over here. The other thing you can do with the order is you can add those conditions or brackets. So let's start with the first one that you see over here, which is the attach profit loss selection. I can click on that. Now what attach profit loss is just that. It allows you to set up first the primary order like we have over here. Let's say in this instance, we're looking to buy NVIDIA 100 shares. We get to put in our price. Let's just say we're looking to execute this for $800. And then it allows me to choose a profit-taking order or a stop loss if I wanted to, or both, in fact. So let's turn on the profit taker for a second. Turn this on, you have to check it off. It's already set up to sell the full quantity of 100. You can adjust the quantity lower than what's represented on the trade. And then you just have to input your price. So let's say if we do buy this at 800, maybe we want to see if we can take profits at 850, if we can climb back up there. Now keep in mind that the time frame selector you can see is locked. I'm not able to click it because it's always tied into this primary order. So whatever time frame you selected over here is going to sync up with these parts of the order. So you're not able to change those at this level here. We're going to continue on and say, let's say we also want to protect ourselves on the downside. So we've set it up to sell those 100. The order is always going to be fixed to a stop loss with a limit. So maybe I want to set up my trigger on the downside if we get executed for 800. Maybe my risk tolerance is about $50. So I'm going to set my trigger at 750. Now, important to note that the limit price that you choose when you do have a stop loss or stop limit order is that the limit price has to be at or below the trigger price. Okay. So in this case, we're going to either make it 750 or I'm just going to do $1 down, 749. All right. So what this order is essentially doing now, you'll notice off to the right, it's connected. So this is a primary order. Think of this as being the active order when we send it through. And until then, these are the dormant parts of the order. So only once this executes, these two will go live or become active and try and sell the stock. And depending where NVIDIA gets to first, whether it gets to my limit price or to my trigger price, I'll either be sold out on the downside or take some profits on the upside. Let's go ahead and preview over here. And when we hit preview, it will tell us if there's any warnings that it needs to give us. So it says good till order is only available for short sell orders in multi-leg. So I need to just change, I just need to change some attributes over here and that will fix. So the warning it gave me was we chose our default as extended hours. Now, the extended hours only accepts limit orders. It does not accept stop losses. So let's fix this. Let's go ahead and uncheck this for a second, or I could change my duration up here. If you go to the preview now, it's going to allow the order to go through. There is going to be any sort of warnings are going to give into you. Keep in mind, this is just a warning. It does not stop you from placing the order. We can still go ahead and submit that order there. Now, just to remind everyone, let's go back to this one more time before we send it. I can also just adjust my time frame here. So let's just say I want to make this order a good till canceled order. You can see it matches up. And now, if we put on our stop loss again, we will be good to go there. All right. So just keep that in mind. There are certain rules to pre and post market trading where they only accept limit orders if you're going to be using that as your default. Okay. So once we've got this here, we can go ahead and verify this. We'll hit submit order and send that order off there. I'll get rid of the little alert. So that's the attached profit loss taker. Now, if you wanted to have a little bit more customization than what's given to you here, because you see we didn't really have a choice. We had to choose a limit order as our profit taking, and we have to use a stop limit on the downside to protect ourselves. So if you want to customize these pieces a bit, what you may want to do is go to the next one over here, which says conditional orders. So I can turn that feature on. Now I've still got the primary order still sitting here at the top that we have, but now I can choose what type of conditional order that I want to do. An OCO, OTA, which stands for one triggers other, and then FTO, which is first triggers OCO. Let's start with the OCO, which is going to be very much similar to what we just did a moment. So let's start with FTO, which is the first triggers other, which is very similar to the attached profit loss that we just did a moment ago if we call it up. So you have your primary order still sitting up here. You can see in this case, let's load up our symbol over here again, NVIDIA. So we've got NVIDIA up here. We've got the 100 shares, and maybe I'm going to choose it, make it just a good till canceled order here, and we'll do 800 shares, of course. Once you have this, now you'll notice when I've selected this, I don't have to sell NVIDIA on this conditional order. It could be something completely different. So this is where the beauty of the conditional order is. It allows a trader to go beyond, let's say they wanted to rebalance their portfolio and they want to sell something or buy something and sell something on their side of the portfolio. For example, let's say if we're keeping along the themes of buying semiconductors and we wanted to talk about rebalancing, maybe I want to offload some AMD, for example, or TSM. Let's load up TSM. All right. So maybe you want to sell a bit of TSM to kind of balance things out here. So you can choose different symbols. Either you want to rotate out of, rotate into, or if you just want to kind of play sympathy plays, I can even switch this from a sell to a buy, and it would switch over. So this is what this functionality allows. It gives you as a trader a lot more control in terms of what you want to put through on that trade. Let's keep our discussions just straightforward, and let's go back to NVIDIA over here. We're going to queue that NVIDIA one in both cases, and we'll show you some other options you can do for those orders. So right now, we're going to set up the primary order to buy the NVIDIA at, still keeping at 800. But now, instead of using a limit order to be able to take profits, I'm going to use a trail order, okay? And I'm going to use trailing stop market order. Now, essentially, this order is just designed to, once the order gets executed on the buy, is designed to just follow the price along and set up what we call as a delta, or a difference between the market price and whatever delta we choose, and it'll follow it along on the way up. But if it does drop, and if it drops more than what we've set as our delta, then it's going to trigger the sell for us. So in this case, you have a choice when you're coming to delta to either do it as a hard dollar value, or it could be a percentage. So let's just say we're going to do a percentage, for example, and I'll demonstrate how it works. Let's say we're doing a 5% trail. So you'll see as soon as we put 5%, it gives us an estimate price at the moment over here of what we're looking to do. Now, this price is actually tied into the current market price that you're seeing right now. It's if you take 5% off of the current market price, well, it's set to this. So right now, at this very moment, if I were to send this trailing stop order through, it will set this as my stop price. So it will keep adjusting if NVIDIA keeps going higher. So if NVIDIA goes to, let's say, 890, it's going to take 5% of 890 and set up a new stop price. So this is an order that essentially that is a moving stop compared to just a standard old stop price, if you want to think of it that way. So we're doing a trailing stop on the top, and then let's say on the bottom we'll just keep it still as plain old, just a stop market over here. Now in a stop market, you just have to choose the trigger price. Essentially, in this case, let's say we want to protect ourselves once the stock, once we get bought at 800, we might say to ourselves, let's keep that 750 trigger still in play. We want to keep it at 750, so if the price does happen to fall down to 750, it'll trigger the order and turn it into a market and send it off. And we will get filled at or near this price. It's not going to be exactly at that price, but it'll be at or near this price once it does go through. We can hit the preview order one more time. It'll give us a summary. Again, any warnings you need to pay heed to, you can review them over here, and then you can go ahead and submit that order, and off it goes. We're just going to not leave this one alone there for a second. So these orders, so we just covered an FTO order. If you do just an OCO, the case for an OCO might be that, hey, let's say for example, we own Apple in the account. I'm going to call up Apple and we want to set up a order. Maybe you're going away, you won't be able to trade on them, you're on vacation or whatever the case may be, where you're not able to monitor it on a daily basis. You could just sort of automate it by placing this order in to say, hey, look, we got Apple, we got a position of 150 shares there, and we want to be able to take some profits if we can, if it does get to a certain level. So let's go switch this back to just a good till canceled order, and we'll say to ourselves, well, look, if this can get back up to that 200 level, let's take some profits there. And on the downside, if it does fall beyond than what we expect, right now, let's just say if it goes down to 140, we will sell this, and make sure you set this up as sells or buys respectively, whichever one you need to do. You can do that as well. So you are able to really justify, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. These OCO doesn't mean you just have to do a sell. There could be a case for where you want to say, hey, I want to buy this stock at Apple. If it, you wouldn't use a limit, you might use a stop if you're thinking that if it can get up to 200, maybe it can really charge up from there, but I only want to buy it if it gets to 200. In that case, that's where you may use a stop market order in the case of a buy. And then similarly, you might say to yourself, well, if it falls to a certain level, then that's also when I wanted to buy, because that's going to be a good value. In this case, We might say 125, all right? And then you could preview this order and see if there's anything that comes up. You can see this order is perfectly good. So we're saying to ourselves, if one of these conditions is met with Apple getting to this price, then that's when we'll buy it. We'll either buy it if it gets to 200. Again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're trying to buy it for a higher price than what it's trading for. But a lot of technicians see that there's certain levels that if a stock reaches, then it might be able to keep charging beyond that. And so this is why they may set it up this way. And then also on the same thing on the downside there. They might see an area of what we call support at this price level and be ready to jump in as soon as it gets to that price. You can go ahead and then submit this order and off it goes there, and we just sent it through. All right, so we've covered the OCO order, and then finally the one triggers another is just two orders. So you're just simultaneously doing one and the other. There's no three, there's only two pieces to this. So again, you have a primary order set up over here. So let's switch up the symbol in this case, and we're going to maybe use, let's use Target. Retailer over here, we'll pull up Target, and we'll pull up Target over here. So this is just a standard way you could use it. It's just this. You could say, okay, let's buy Target. We're seeing the price on Target at the moment right now, showing at 169. I'll say, okay, let's set a limit price of 165. If we can execute that, we'll set this up to good till canceled. And again on here, let's sell the target if it gets, well, to our target price. No pun intended. Let's go to $180 over here. And so that's too many zeros. Let's get it down there. All right, and figure decimal point. There we go. So now all you got to do is preview that order and send it off. And that's it. We've covered both the attached profit loss and conditional orders here so far. So you have a quick rundown of how those orders work. And just note the differences. Remember, this is more sort of, there's less edits you can make on this order. It's kind of fixed with the price type that you have. It's going to be linked with the duration as well that you have over here with the primary order. But if you do want some of that control, then you want to go to conditional orders, and you still are able to set up a similar function to the attached profit loss by using the FTO, which stands for first triggers, one cancels other. And then you also have the choice of just doing a plain old one cancels other order in whichever way you want it to do, whether that be for rotating through a stock or just doing some good old rebalancing there. Now, we covered defaults briefly just with a standard order, but if we go back to our defaults, clicking that gear icon, there is a section for conditional orders here that you can also set up defaults for. So you can see the orders we covered were OCO order, the one triggers other, and then the FTO order. So you do have controls over setting those up. If you do call those up, then there's certain parameters that are already going to be filled in for you that you'd like to have. So do set those up. Okay, let's close off of this. Let's go back to our normal view. Now, I demonstrated all of that just for the ease of view, right using the order entry widget. You can still bring up this widget from any screen, as I mentioned. Like, so for example, if we go to the Market Pulse work tab over here, and let's just say we've got something else loaded up. Wherever there's a quote that's going to be found, you're able to kind of place a trade. So if we go to most active over here, for example, you can see this whenever we see a bid or ask, or if there's a price, you can go to this menu on this screen, for example, and you have the buy and sell windows or options there. You have the covering, the short selling as well, along with those bracket orders. So let's just say we wanted to, I want to short this stock over here. I can bring it up and you have this floating order entry. So the purpose of what we're trying to relay here is that no matter where you are, as long as there's some price depiction, you'll be able to place the trade from right within that screen there. And now keep in mind, if you're doing the short sell, it's going to set up as a short. You want to make sure you're in the right account. This one will automatically default to being a short account. So you do need to have a short account if you're looking to do short trades there. All right. So let's go back to our trading window here. And let's talk about monitoring the orders that we all send through. So now, when you open up dashboard, you're going to have a set default layout given to you. And if I go to monitor, this is where you're going to find both your positions or holdings. You can see right now we're on the holding screen, and this is the holdings we have as part of our account. You can toggle between all the different accounts you have within here, but this is the one that we're using as our test bed account. And you can see the holdings and option and various positions that we have. But right beside it is where the order status is going to be found. So let me go ahead and click on that. Now within the order status, what you're going to notice is first, you can select which account you want to see the orders in, or as I have it, you can have it display all the entire portfolio of orders in one page. So we've set it to all accounts. That's my preference. From here, you can then choose to either isolate the orders and buy a symbol if you wanted to see specifically. So let's just say we want to see NVIDIA orders. Well, you can just type it in, and now only NVIDIA orders are going to show up. And if you want to just see Apple, we're going to see just Apple orders show up as it does as you're doing your search there. So you do have the ability to sort of parse or filter out using the symbol selector. Then we have our inline editing, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment when we talk about modifying our orders. You can also choose to see the order details, and let me show you what that is. Right now, it's currently set to no, but if I just click on yes, you would have noticed that it opened up this plus sign and to expand. And let's go and see one that's been filled. For example, let's click on this, and what this detail shows us, it will show you exactly the execution time on the order, the time the order was submitted, and what type of order it was. So to see these details, just make sure you have the order details switch to yes there. All right. You're going to see these buttons appear. And if I just switch it back to no, you'll notice it goes away, turn it on, and turn it off one more time. Okay. Now, coming back to the orders here, we can also further filter. If we're instead of seeing a whole mishmash of orders, we can also try parse it out to see just the open orders. So for example, you can see right now we're set to seeing all orders regardless of the status that on them. So we can come here and say open orders only. So now we're seeing just the open orders over here. If we go into filled, we can see just the filled. If there's anything that's been canceled, we can show the canceled orders over here. But if we go just to a moment to our open orders, and let's talk about editing some of these orders. So let's say on NVIDIA, we had put that order to buy it and we wanted to edit it. Well, one of the ways you can do it is just right over here. You can see the status is open, it has not filled yet. And we have the modify or cancel option. So we can just, if we hit the modify, it'll open up that order entry again and allow us to just modify it. Maybe we want to say, maybe I want to just drop the share count down to 50 and I'll just raise the price a little higher to 550 over here. We'll keep everything else the same as it is and everything's good. We'll go ahead and hit preview and send that order off. It'll give you any warnings it needs to, and you can just still go ahead with that order. You can see it's updated to our new quantity of 50. Our price would also be updated to that new price of 550 over here as well. Now, in addition to doing it this way, by hitting the modify, you can also do it by turning on this button right here, which says inline editing. Click on the yes, and you'll notice that the modify button no longer is there. You might be wondering, well, how does this work? What you will, however, notice is that under certain fields, you're going to see them highlighted in this bluish background color. And these are all fields that are editable right now. So again, I can just come into NVIDIA and type right directly in there and say, okay, let's raise it to 75 shares. And then make any adjustments here. Do I need to adjust my price over here? Maybe we'll just drop it in between to 525. I'll keep my duration as it is. And once you make those changes, you do need to come across an update for those changes to take effect. Okay, so it does give you any warnings. In this case, it's telling us we can't increase the quantity, but we can decrease it on this order. So let's go back and try the decrease. So let's say we want to do 40 shares instead of the 50. We can hit update, and that order should take, which it does, and you can see the new status is being updated there for us. All right. So this is another way you can do the modification of the order just by turning it inline editing on, whichever your preference is. So it's either one or the other. If you turn it on to no, you'll get the modify functions. The cancel doesn't change regardless of what you choose up here. The cancel button will always remain here. So let's just say we want to cancel one of these orders out. For instance, this Apple one, I'm just going to hit cancel, and it's going to cancel out there. All right. So it'll tell you the status. There's no confirmation. It just goes right to canceling on that system there for you. So this is just a look at monitoring the orders here. Now you do have, if we go to filled orders for a second, you can see that these are going to show the filled orders for, however long you've had these orders on. You do also have functions here to either duplicate an order. If you know there's a certain stock you trade all the time, for example, if we do NVIDIA, I can just simply recopy this order. It'll come up with the exact same prices and conditions, and I can just send it real quick right from here. I can also take the opposite side. If I bought NVIDIA and I'm saying, okay, well, let's put a sell on real quick. I can put the sell for the 100 shares, and then I just got to put my price inputs over here to adjust that. So this is also going to give you the ability to change the orders or reverse the orders from here rather than having to set them all up again. Now, from here, what we're also going to show you is the holdings. Let's go and show you how the holdings get displayed. Let's switch over to this. Now, of course, you are going to be seeing the holdings on an individual account level. So you can see you have to select a specific account to be able to view those. We're going to keep to the same account that we did some of these trades in. And you can organize the holdings in a number of ways. So first, you are able to, again, you have the symbol selector. So if you do have a number of positions here, you can say, well, let me just see all my Apple positions. Again, I can see all the Apple called up just by filtering it out through the symbol search there. You can also group them by sector. We currently have it set to no. If I click to yes, for example, you'll see that all the technology are grouped together, financials grouped together, and then any non-cyclicals are in their own set category based on what I have. We turn this off for a moment. We'll go back to our standard view. Next over is grouping by the underlying. So you can choose to do that, just that. If you trade just beyond stocks, let's say we trade, in our case, there are some other securities such as options in here. It'll group by underlying and place everything together to be able to just be a little bit more neat and organized when you're trying to parse through a lot of these positions that you may have on the platform. Now, the other thing that you can do on not only on this screen, but also on the order status screen is we have something called template management. And within the template management, we are able to adjust these column headers that we see. Now, you can currently see we're on the standard one. If we go to basic, you can see if I do the switch to the basic, it'll just show me my portfolio related information such as daily profit and loss, unrealized profit and loss, market value, etc. I can go to standard, which is going to give me a few more details related to the stock itself, along with some of those values. And then there's also ones that we've created. And we'll show you how to manage just as a quick example. You'll come back on this menu up here where you see manage templates. You can click on this over here and you can create your own one. You can see we created and we did a duplicate of the basic and standard over here. So you would just simply create new and you would say we want a custom. We'll just call it custom in this case. And then just save it. And then you just want to go ahead and add those various data columns that you want. So maybe you just double click and throw in these various ones there. You might want to see some of these different values showing up there. And I just did it arbitrarily just to demonstrate. And then once it's in there, you simply will close this. And if you want to call up that new view that you created, you can go back to the template selector and select and land on custom. And this is your view under that holdings now that you can see. So you can mix and match a number of these different fields all together. So as long as it's going to be the view that you want to see, or you can even toggle or cycle through different views if you want to kind of streamline different pieces of information there. Switch it back to our basic view over here and revert back over here for a second. Now, in addition to this, of course, you have your breakdown of your account values displayed over here. Your daily profit and loss is also going to be summarized here. You do also have ability to see just particular ones. So for example, if I wanted to see a particular stocks information, what I'm going to do is I can go to custom selection. What custom selection does is it will show me, it'll open up these checkboxes to tell me what exactly I want to look at. Right now, the profit and loss in this area is not displayed. I can either just select an individual position in there, such as I have just on the long stock position, which will show me the particulars about just Apple and the total position that I own on it. Or I can choose to check off the entire underlying group, which will group all of the positions, including some of those options as part of this, and it'll give me the total details on that. And I can continue doing it for various ones, whether it doesn't have to be that one, they don't have to just be on Apple. I can include Shopify in there, and now that's going to adjust the values that we see over here. So in this way, you are able to also look at specific profit and loss values if you want to group them in different ways by using this custom selection. Now we can turn this off and we'll go back to our standard view there. Now keep in mind, you also have this menu available beside each one. So if you wanted to place orders right from this screen, let's say we wanted to close out a position, of course you have the buy and sell functions right beside it. You do also have this one to bring up some of the more custom features such as those conditional or bracket orders that you want to do. So you can call those up by just clicking on this menu with the three dots there. All right, so this was a look at our holdings widget over here. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add one more widget to this look, and that's going to be our portfolio manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to this row at the top here, add the addition sign, and under account details, we're going to go to portfolio manager. Now, portfolio manager, what is this? Well, this is where you can track various securities or your portfolios across different trading avenues if you may have them in one neat place. So you're allowed to build a portfolio here. So for example, you can see we've got one set up over here, but we can go ahead and create our own portfolio view if we wanted to do so. You can see in this case that we've got a portfolio that's just called demo. I can go to another one that's called mock. So we can bring these up, and then we can go to our menu over here, and we can go to where it says portfolio manager, and you can see these are the ones that we have, but I can also create a new one right over here. Let's go ahead and click on new portfolio. We're going to just call this and choose which currency is going to be, and we're just going to call this alpha portfolio. Well, we'll just call it alpha to keep it simple. You can choose what currency you wanted to get it displayed in. Let's say we want to choose USD, since it'll be a majority of US stocks, and we can just hit create. Now, once you hit create, it's going to be set up there on the new portfolio. Now, what we want to do is just call up that portfolio that we have over here. And you can see that we don't currently have any positions in there. So now this is where we can go ahead and start adding some of our symbols that we want through this portfolio. Let's just say I want to put in Google to begin with. I can put that in. Now, once you do that, what it's going to ask you to do is choose a quantity. So let's just say we have 50 shares of Google to display. We can choose the cost basis we want to put on this. Now, if you're not sure of the cost basis, you can actually just go to the calendar and say, well, I would have bought it approximately about sometime in October or sometime in November around this date, for example. And if you click on November 17th, for example, it's going to queue the price at which Google closed at on that particular day. So it'll give you that price right off the bat by selecting that. But of course, you can just do your own individual input without even doing the date. Let's just say we're going to go with this. We can just go ahead and hit save. Now you can see the way it gets displayed is it will show that cost basis information and keep a track of your daily profit and loss here along with this bar here at the top. In this way, you can go ahead and continue adding more symbols. I'm just going to add in another one, another automotive company by the name of Rivian. We'll put 100 shares there. And in this case, we're going to say our cost basis was $12. And this is one where I'm not selecting a calendar date. I'm simply just putting in the value. And we can go ahead and hit save over here. All right, so we've got that plugged into it over here. I'm just going to keep it 2 for now, just to discuss it. You do have the ability to edit any of these values at any time. If you're either changing or adjusting, you can come back in here and say, okay, we need to edit the quantities here, and then have those updated there. And other than that, you do also have those the template selector available for this one. You can see the data columns that we have represented here. They can be also cycled. You can see there's a template selector right over here. Right now, there's just standard. We've created one that's called standard edit. We've added a few more columns as part of this. So again, the process would be the same way as just the others. You would come in, go to manage templates, and make your adjustments and create a new template, and then add in the respective data fields that you require as part of this screen there. And that's it. That's a look at the portfolio manager. The last thing that we're going to round up our session on equity trading is placing equity trades through charts. Let's pull this up over here for a moment. So what I'm going to do is pull up the charts. We've got our watch list already linked over here. And so let's say we wanted to place a trade right off the charts, and I'm going to pull up any one of these symbols that I have here. For example, let's just choose Tesla and pull up Tesla. You can see the chart that we have loaded up. Now, there are 2 ways to place trades on this chart. One is you can go to the system menu and set up where you have show open orders. So you can see what the difference is right now. We've already got this selected. If I unselect this, it's going to just adjust the chart where you don't see that bid-ask price any longer. And if I turn it back on, show what open orders will display over here. Now it does turn on the bid-ask along with the price. But what it does is, let's say you can do it by just clicking one of these values. So if we click on this, it'll open up our order entry. We can plug and play. We can plug the numbers in and send it off. But you can also notice that as I hover and I move through, there's a price bar over here. Let's say we wanted to buy Tesla at this price level over here. I can go to this plus sign, activate it, and you'll see the buy sell function also opens up through here, where you can choose to either sell it or buy it, let's say, or create a new order. Let's say we want to hit buy at that stop price. It already sets it up automatically here for us, and then we're able to send that order through. So this is going to be activated once you have the show open order function. Now, keep in mind as well, we also are going to have our buy and sell buttons indicated on here. So if we just enlarge this for a second, you'll notice I'm going to point everyone's attention to this top right section up here, you can see there's a buy and sell. Now, I've gone ahead and added the short sell and cover options as well. Now, keep in mind, those are going to be found by clicking this wrench. And if we go to our orders, you can see that if you check this off, you're going to have the sell short and buy to cover options placed in there. Let's come here. So if you come in here, you can also click on these. Let's click on the buy. It's going to open up and what this does is it opens up a selector on the chart. You'll notice on the case of a buy, it's a green horizontal bar that I'm maneuvering through. And let's say we want to buy it at this level, somewhere over here. I can simply just drop it and you'll see it kind of pinpoints at that price. I can make any adjustments that I need to before we send this order. So say, for example, I'm going a bit lower and I can just preview that order and then we'll send that order off. And off that order goes. Now you'll notice since we have the show orders displayed, it actually shows the order on the chart as well. You can actually come in here and edit it. So if I move this order up slightly and I click off of it, you'll notice now that it's adjusting the price and it's asking me if I want to accept this change, and I can just hit preview order and say send it off at that new price there. Okay, so you're going to notice this display in the same way. If we were to do sell short on Tesla, I can come in here and I can say, okay, I want to short it if it does manage to get to let's just say 205. You can click this. It's already set up to our short margin account, 100 shares at that price. I can hit this and we can preview the order. And of course, you see now we've got our sell short value showing up here. And again, it's adjustable by just moving it there to make that change. All right, traders, and that was a look at placing equity trades on the Advanced Dashboard platform. Thank you for joining me. And just in summary, what we covered here today was we looked at the setup of the platform for equity trading with the widgets and tools that were important to me. Now, keep in mind, these can be customizable to your own preference. We then went and showed how to execute various orders from both the plain vanilla buy and sell to also looking at those more exotic orders such as the conditional orders like the OCO, the first triggers OCO order, as well as the one triggers other order. Then we landed up on our monitor page over here where we were able to show you how to modify any orders or view the orders and then modify them, along with also displaying the holdings that we went through and adjusting some of those settings along with the data columns that you see over here. And then, of course, we rounded off right on the charts by looking at how to place orders on the charts and how you can edit some of these orders right through the charts. Keep in mind, if you do want to learn more about the Advanced Dashboard platform, check out the rest of the videos as part of the Advanced Dashboard Masterclass series.